So we're currently at Tenerife on stand here. We are going to quickly set the aircraft up. I'm going to push the plane back, start the engines, taxi to the runway. After we've took off, we're going to then have a twin engine failure, in which case we're then going to turn around and start heading back towards Tenerife, but I'll discuss that in a little bit more detail once we're all set up. So we're not going to spend too much time programming everything in. We've already got the flight management computer set up, putting the fuel pumps on here, already running on APU power, yaw damper on, window heat on, hydraulics can go on, packs are off, APU bleed to on, and we'll just very quickly start pushing back now. As we're pushing back, we'll start up engine number 1. That's it. In and left to GRD on the start switch. Once we get to 25 on the N2, we're then going to go and put the number 1 cut off up to idle. So 24, 25, there we go. Speed, we're going to set our minimum climb speed, or our V2 here, to 141. Heading we'll set to the runway heading, which is around about 073, I believe. Altitude we'll just keep at 10,000 feet. Wait for number 1 to finish starting up, and then we're going to start number 2. There we go, so we're going to go ahead and start number 2. Same again, in and left GRD. Number 2 then comes out and up to the top on the fuel cut-offs once we get to around about 25% N1. So now I'm going to stop the pushback. Number 2 goes up, so number 2 is now going to start up. I'm going to set the flaps to 5 for takeoff. I'm going to change the trim here to give us 5 units of trim for takeoff. Round about there. Auto brake to RTO, so that's rejected takeoff. It's going to brake for us, keep us on the runway should we have to abort for V1. Number 2 is now finished starting, so we're going to put the engine start switches in and 1 click right to continuous. Now I'm going to put our probe heats on. We're going to move over to generator 1 and 2. APU goes up to off. Now I'm going to put the packs on, the engine bleeds on, and the APU bleed up to off. Okay. Put our taxi light on, and we are now set to start taxiing towards the runway. So I'm going to give us 30% on the N1 here. We're going to follow this orange line on the ground straight ahead of us. Not too far away from the runway, so there'll be a left turn, then a right, all the way to the end of the taxiway where the top of the runway is, and then we'll do a left turn onto runway 07. So after we take off, once we get anywhere between 6,000 and 6,500 feet, both of the engines are going to fail. At that stage, I'm then going to start to turn the plane around, do a few things in terms of starting the APU up to give us a bit of power. And then I'm just going to come in and try to land it. This hasn't been practiced. I've got absolutely no idea whether we're going to be able to do it or not. Thought it would be quite a interesting video to watch in anyway, to see whether we would be able to do it. One thing to keep in mind is you would normally have 2 pilots, so the pilot monitoring would then have responsibilities or be helping you out with certain things that you needed to be doing, such as the flaps, programming in the flight management computer, speaking to air traffic control. We've already got it pre-programmed in that we're going to be returning here on the flight management computer, so it just saves a job really. We'll have a short pause just after the engines fail, just before we then start turning back towards the runway. Just obviously in real life you wouldn't have a few, or maybe a few seconds where you would then discuss what the problem is. In our case, there's nobody here to discuss it with other than myself. And we know that the engines are going to fail in anyway, so we've got quite a big advantage really. So back to 30% on the thrust there. So we're going to taxi all the way down to the bottom here, and then it's a left turn at the bottom. to line up on the runway. Taxiing quite quickly here, but there's no real need for us to stick to any speed limits. Might as well just get onto the runway as quick as we can. As I say, I haven't practiced this prior to trying it. There's a good chance we might just crash before the runway. But we'll soon find out. So, entering the runway, 2 inboard landing lights go on. A little bit more power in there. We're not going to stop once we are in line with the centre line. So we're happy with that. So we're going to go to 40%. Everything's looking good. Toga buttons in now. Take off, thrust. Thrust is set. Airspeed is live. 80 knots. Rotate, so start to pull back. Nose is coming up. Positive climb, landing gear up. .1,500 feet now, so flaps to 1, bug up. Should be about 203, I think. Yeah, 203. Just passing 3,000 feet. And flaps up. .4,000 feet. .5,000 feet now, so we're going to have engine failure at about 500 feet. You're going to see, or you're going to hear, sorry, the engines drop down. The lights should then go out as we lose power. So there's the engines dropping down there. Nose is coming down. And there goes the power. So I'm just going to put a little bit of trim in. I'm going to start up the APU. There we go. And then I'm going to start a left turn. Try and head back towards the airport. So I'm going to overturn here as well, so you're going to hear a warning for bank angle.
Bank angle, bank angle.
It just means we're turning excessively, which is fine in this case. Just want to be able to see the runway. We will lose a couple of thousand feet normally in the 180-degree turn. So there's the runway down there. So I'm going to just keep this turn going. APU's available, so now I'm turning the APU on, or using the power from it, should I say. So now you can see we have power back on here. And I'm now going to start to straighten up. Okay. So you can see the runway over there. So I'm now going to take landing gear down, flaps to 1. So we're quite high at the moment. Speed's also building slightly. Just going to let the speed continue to build. We're going to start a right turn now. See the runway ahead of us there. Pappy lights are all white, so that's showing that we're too high. Getting a sink rate warning, which is fine. Speed's high.
1,000. Sink rate.
That speed should start to bleed off in a second. Gonna go flaps now.
Too low. Terrain.
To 15.
300. Too low. Terrain. Sink
Speed's
rate.
coming down.
Too low. Terrain.
Flaps
Sink
30.
rate.
So the speed's really high. We're gonna get a flap warning in a second here.
Minimums. Too low. Terrain. 40, 30, 20, 10. Too low. Terrain.
It's a long landing.
Minimums.
There we go. Spoilers up. Now we're braking. Speed's coming down. Will we stop before the end of the runway? 80 knots. Just about by the looks of it. And there we go. Everyone's safe. Happy days.